Obviously, you have to be good at the writing part if you want to be a screenwriter. How can you be a screenwriter if you can't actually write anything decent? And that seems pretty obvious to most people, but when you break it down, most people can't tell you what qualities good writing actually includes. A clever turn of phrase, a well-placed joke, verbose vocabulary, vying for attention, using alliteration and an apropos assertion of articulation. What did I even just say? But here's what good writing means for screenwriters, and this is the first skill you have to be good at: story and storytelling. Now, if you don't know what a story is, much less how a story works, and you don't know how to tell a story well, you're already done. I mean, that's what good writing as a screenwriter entails. Being able to craft a solid story and then being able to tell it well. And you use all of the tools of story and of storytelling to bring your writing to life and emotionally move the reader of your script. And if you do that, that's good writing. I mean, making others laugh when you want them to laugh, cry when you want them to cry, keeping them engaged with an interesting story, fascinating characters, loads and loads of conflict, all while the audience is hoping for a good ending and fearing the worst every step of the way. If you can do that, okay, that's good writing. But that's one skill of many you have to be good at to be a screenwriter. And sadly, the skill of story and storytelling is the one skill most new screenwriters don't even complete. There's a bunch of others. They don't even complete this one because they just think, hey, I've got an idea for a story. I'll write it, sell it, make a bunch of money. It's going to be great. And if that's all you think it takes to make it as a screenwriter, you will never make it as a screenwriter. Skill number 2, grammar. I'm getting on a soapbox here, so just buckle in. I get so frustrated at new screenwriters who are all, I'm trying to be a screenwriter, but I'm actually no good at grammar. Can someone help me with that? Or worse, does it matter if my script has any grammatical issues? And then the answer I see from other wannabe writers and even some established writers, which really makes me frustrated, is oh, it's fine. All people care about is a good story, well told. So if you just do that, you're good. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought good grammar actually helps you tell a story. Does it matter if you have good grammar? 100%. Can you be a screenwriter and be bad at grammar? No, just no. If you're gonna be a screenwriter, you've got to go the whole way. If you don't know grammar, learn it. If you don't know screenplay format, learn it. Grammar and format help you tell the story. You use them the right way, and the reader can more easily track with a story, and you can better influence the emotions of the reader. But ignore them, and you're done. So all people care about is a good story well told, well, that's totally true. But to think that grammar or format don't contribute to that maxim is a load of something smelly coming out of the back end of a horse. You have to learn grammar. You have to learn how to craft sentences in a very specific way if you want to be a screenwriter. It's all about economy of writing, so you got to learn to do it right. Skill number 3. If you want to get your scripts in front of Hollywood decision makers, you have to know how to articulate the concept of your stories in a high concept way. A high concept simply means that it is easy and simple to communicate. So if you have a high concept idea, it's an idea that you can easily and simply communicate. There's a bomb on a bus, and if the bus drops below 50 miles per hour, it'll blow up, and Jack Travern has to find a way to stop it. Long ago, a powerful sorcerer formed a magic ring, giving him power to rule the world, and if he gets it back, the world is doomed. So it's up to a hobbit, one of the most unlikely people in Middle-earth, to destroy it. When Carl, a 40-year-old man with a 75 IQ, witnesses his friend, a 9-year-old boy, being physically abused by a stepfather figure, how far will Carl go to protect him? If you don't know how to boil your story down to the high concept, easy to understand core components, you will have a difficult, if not impossible time getting people in the industry to read your stuff. And I know it doesn't totally make logical sense, but the thinking is generally, okay, if the writer can't grab me in a sentence or two, how are they going to hold my attention for 90 plus pages? And maybe your story and storytelling are on point, maybe they're excellent, but they do kind of have a point. So if you aren't good at this one, you got to practice it. Here's a way to do it. Try to write a high concept articulation for some of your favorite movies in 50 words or less. And by the way, all of the examples that I just gave you are less than 50 words. Skill number 4, if you want to be a good screenwriter, is you got to be a problem solver. Another way to think about it is you need to be someone who can find answers to questions. And no, this doesn't mean asking another writer to solve your problem. I mean, I literally just saw this posted on one of the online groups that I frequently haunt. Someone was wanting help in figuring out a line of dialogue for a character. You're a writer. You have to learn how to figure it out yourself. Yeah, I know it's hard, but you have to learn to figure things out, and you have to learn how to solve your own problems. Now, of course, there are ways and places to ask for help from other writers if you just can't crack something. But if you're writing a historical novel, how do you find the details about what people ate on a daily basis in 1791 when your story takes place? How do you solve that problem? You have to figure that out. I've heard writers say things like, I don't like research. And what I want to say is, well, then you shouldn't be a writer. But I write science fiction. I mean, that takes place in the future. That's cool. You still have to do research and read and learn and study. I know of 0 writers who do 0 research. They may not be reading historical documents, but they are talking to experts and other people in the fields that they're writing in. So let me give you a tip. Most writers of nonfiction, unless they're just really well known, and not very many of them are, they don't get much correspondence from fans of their books. More than that, university professors who are experts in things like Native American culture rarely get asked by someone other than a student about information that they know intimately well. It's not hard to find the email address of a university professor or of a nonfiction writer, most of whom are university professors. Figure out what questions you have, reach out to them, and you may be surprised at how much they're willing to talk to you. And you, if you're going to be a screenwriter, you have to find ways to solve problems. I mean, when people ask me what I do for a living, one answer I sometimes give is, I just solve problems. That's what I do every day. I just solve problems over and over again. There's one maxim about film that you might hear floating around where you might hear it say that filmmaking is all about solving problems. And if you solve enough of them, eventually you have a finished film that people like. If you can't learn to solve problems, you aren't gonna make it as a screenwriter. Sorry. Skill number 5, marketing yourself. Yeah, pretty much every writer hates this one. I mean, we don't like being around other people much to begin with. I'm circling back to that one in a second. And when we are around other people, we don't really like talking about or hyping ourselves. I totally get it. But the thing is, no one's gonna read your stuff if you don't know how to market your work or yourself. Do you tell people you're a writer? Just people in your normal everyday life. Do people know you're a writer? Do people know that you write stories or even write screenplays? Why not? It's not like most of the people in your orbit could get your script in front of a Hollywood executive anyway. So practice on them. Practice letting others know what you do, what you're working on. Try pitching to them a high concept version of a story you're working on. Do they like it? Do they seem interested? Or do they just go, that's interesting, meaning it's not that interesting? Have you ever written a query letter? Have you tried? Have you sent any out for a script that you've written? You have to learn to get good at the skill of marketing yourself, or the only one who'll ever read your screenplays is you. And the only one who'll ever see the stories you've written will be you when you close your eyes and play it out in your head. This skill is a difficult one for many writers to master, but if you've been noticing so far, the first 2 skills I mentioned had to do with actual writing. The rest of them, not so much, because there's much more to being a screenwriter than just writing. Skill number 6, being relational. Now, I told you I was coming back to the people thing, and here we are. And I get it, because most of us are introverts. I mean, personally, my batteries get recharged when I'm by myself. But let me ask you a question. Why are you wanting to tell stories that matter? However you answer the question, I bet the answer includes, on some level, at least one other person besides you, probably a group of people, because stories are meant to be experienced in community. And I believe people are better in community. And screenwriting, even though you may be sitting by yourself when you write, is a collaborative medium done in community. I mean, you have to learn to talk to people. You have to learn to be relational. You have to learn to engage with anyone, even people who think, believe, and behave differently than you. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be the life of the party and talking to everyone and do all that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean that. But it does mean that you can talk to anyone, that you can carry a conversation if you have to, that you're not timid, that you are comfortable talking with other people. Because you want to know something? I mean, most executives that you'll eventually have meetings with are also introverts. I mean, they've gotten where they are because they're good at what they do, but not all of them are good conversationalists. You're the storyteller. You're the one who puts words on a page. You're the wordsmith. You're the one they expect will carry the conversation. And sometimes they do it, but of the meetings I've had, I'd say that probably about 50% of the time, I'm the one leading the conversation because the producer or executive is just as introverted as I am. And they're looking at me to fill the silence, just like they're going to look at you to fill the silence. Plus, this helps with being able to market yourself. So gain some confidence in this area. Try to strike up conversation with others you interact with just organically. People in line at the store or on public transit or at a sporting event. Because as a screenwriter, you're going to have to talk to other people. So you need to learn how to be relational and conversational with anyone. And having those conversations, even when you may be scared to do so, helps you with the next skill that you have to be good at to be a screenwriter, being a risk taker and having the willingness to fail. Now, you will not get it perfect every time out of the gate. There will always be the safe way to go. But if you spend all your time planning and making sure that you're going to succeed and playing it safe, someone else will get there before you. Actually, a lot of someone else's. I once read a quote from a producer at Pixar who says, "Fail as fast as possible." And what he meant was, in storytelling, you can wring your hands about which way to go, or you can just make a decision, push forward, and if it's wrong, fine. At least you know what won't work. But if you hem and haw, you're never gonna know what will or won't work. So fail as fast as possible. And failure isn't bad. It's just a learning opportunity. You get up, you try again. Now, I know it's scary to send that query letter out, but you never know till you do it. And I know it's scary to submit that script to the contest, but you never know till you try. And I know it's scary to give your script to friends or even a mentor of yours, but you won't know if the script succeeds until you do it. Be willing to take risks. Be willing to fail as fast as you can. Every screenwriter I know has this attitude. Not all stories work. That's fine. Write another one. And that gets us to skill number 8, perseverance. Screenwriting is a long game. It takes one foot in front of the other for a whole lot of steps. And you can't control whether anyone is going to like your stuff. You can control whether or not you quit. You can control how hard you work, how much effort you put into your writing and into honing your craft. And perseverance is a skill you have to learn and cultivate. No one's just automatically good at persevering. You actually get better at it when trials and struggles and failures come your way. And the more you persevere now, the easier it is the next time, and the time after that, and the time after that. And this is true with any craft and any skill. I mean, you have to work at it, sometimes laboriously, other times the work is easy, but in all of it, you have to keep going to persevere. Skill number 9, discipline. No one is going to be hounding you about deadlines along the way when you're starting out. That's just not going to happen. You have to learn to be disciplined. You have to learn to do the work, to put in the hours, to devote the time. And discipline is another skill that you must cultivate. It doesn't come naturally to anyone. Most of us, if left on our own, we're all just a bunch of lazy punks. Discipline means that we push through, that we get things done when we need to. But discipline also means that we make dedicated time for rest and rejuvenation. Discipline isn't about getting work done. It's about making sure the stuff that needs to be done gets done when it's supposed to be done. So have discipline to eat the right things, to exercise, to spend time with family and friends, and to put butt in chair and write and work on the craft regularly. I mean, if you want to get good at screenwriting, you have to have discipline. Without it, you're gonna be lost. And then when lightning strikes, you get a chance to write something on assignment. If you haven't cultivated the skill of discipline, you won't have enough of it to be able to complete the assignment on time because you won't have developed the habit and skill of discipline. And that leads us to skill number 10, self-acceptance and self-awareness. Now, this one will be hard for some of you when you sit down to write because you just kind of close yourself off. You have your writer hat that you put on and you become someone other than who you are. And to an extent, this is kind of fine. I mean, as long as you know that that's what you're doing. A lot of writers I know began writing out of pain. Something in their life negatively impacted them, and they found writing to be a salve, to be therapeutic on some level. And over time, they found screenwriting as the medium they wanted to write in. But then they close off that part of themselves, that painful part, because, oh no, I don't write about or even watch stories about blank. And again, I get it, especially if it brings up painful memories. But here's the thing, as a writer, you have to know who you are and who you aren't. You have to know and acknowledge your successes and your failures and your faults. You have to be fully confident in yourself as a writer, and that means accepting every part of who you are, warts and all. Now, that doesn't mean you can't work on and change the parts of yourself that you don't like or that you need to improve. You absolutely should do that. You should work on you if you need to change and do better. But you also have to understand that every molecule of you is what makes you unique. It's what makes you, you. I mean, the good, the bad, and the ugly. All of it is you. And you need to know and be okay with that, because when you write, when you sit down to write, you're at the keyboard, you're writing, you're on a piece of paper, whatever it is, all of you is going to come out on the page. You can't hide anything. You are naked and on display for the world to see when you write. And good screenwriters, they know this. They know they're being exposed on the page as soon as they start writing. So if you want to get over that final hurdle and be a good screenwriter, you have to learn to accept yourself and to be aware of who you are, all of it, including the skeletons in the closet. And crazily, yeah, only 2 of these 10 are about actual writing. You absolutely have to get good at the writing part, of course you do. But if you want to be a good screenwriter, you've also got to work on the other skills. If you want to work on those writing skills, there are some links below that can help with that, like the Screenplay Navigator or the Screenwriting Fast Track. So be sure to check those out and learn more about them by clicking the links below. I hope you found this helpful, and if you found any value and you haven't already, please be sure to like, subscribe, bell, all of that. I really do appreciate it. And when you go to tell a story, be sure you tell a story that matters. See you later.